My name is John Roy and I'm running for an alderman in Ward 5. The reason I decided to run is because my personal home taxes are way too high. I'm tired of the, I think, incompetent spending of some areas of the city. Some people have since left, since the big expenses have gone, but they've left behind a trail of really unexplained extra expenses that now we're stuck to pay. My family moved to Timmins in 1911 when mine started. So we've been here for a long time, and I'd like my grandchildren to be able to live here as well. I was born in Timmins. I'm bilingual, raised in both the French and English cultures. I've worked as a field engineer for Ellis Dawn in the Construction Ontario High School, Whitney Public School, which is now closed, and also Timmins District Hospital. I worked out west in Alberta on construction projects, building a hospital. And so I've got a wide variety of construction experience and knowledge, mainly having to do with estimating, cost analysis, supervision. I've been a safety guy on a hospital job, so I'm used to working with unions. I defend my men, whether they are union or not. I've lived here most of my life. I've had a few businesses. I've been very successful in a few and not successful in others. But I've learned through the years that budgeting is key to any financial success in any kind of business. And I think it's time that the city has to stop all this crazy spending. As far as my platform goes, we have to get back to responsible spending. I appreciate the work that the aldermen have done to date in the past councils. However, I think that after a while, you lose how to focus, how to refocus on how to spend money. Unfortunately, Timmins is a small town. We have big ideas like Toronto. Everybody's a buddy in Timmins. Whether you work at City Hall, you work for the city, whether you work at any of the construction sites or businesses around town, everybody's a buddy to somebody. And it's very difficult to tell your buddy, hey Joe, you gotta go move that wood over there. Because listen, Joe's been a friend for a long time. But you know what? We've got to get more efficient. Joe has to realize that, buddy or not, the job's got to get done. Especially in the wintertime when you look at guys trying to fill the potholes. They're a problem, but you're just not filling them properly. They put coal patch in a hole of slush, and they back over it a few times with a truck, and there you go. They drive away. What happens? 2 hours later, you come back, the hole's empty again. It's very difficult working in Northern Ontario. The winters are cold. Frost on our roads is terrible. I'd like to see us go to the Research Council of Canada and see if we can't get some kind of grants to redesign a type of road system where all the leaky water from the water mains and from the sewers would be collected in the sump and pumped out of the area, so that in essence, when you dig a hole in the clay, you're creating a bath, and the water can't get out of it once it's in there. We've got to drain the water off. So I think we should go to the Research Council of Canada and see if there's not a new way to design roads in Northern Ontario where they would be more efficient, they wouldn't crumble as much. I'd like to prioritize infrastructure, being road, water lines, and sewers, as my main theme. The existing council think that a new sports complex, a pool complex, will attract big business. Well, it won't. They'll be happy that it's here. But what's going to get people in here, big business, is have good infrastructure where they can count on the roads, on the water systems, the sewer system, the hydro, cable, you name it. We have to have good infrastructure. I mean, I'm tired. I've had the ball joints on my trucks redone twice in the last 2 years. You know, $700–800 every time. Why? Because we've got too many potholes. General Motors refuses to cover it because the roads are so bad in the north. But I must admit, Sudbury roads are even worse than Timmins, so we still have them pretty good. I'd like to propose an across-the-board cut of 2% in every department. Regardless of what you have to do to get it, you've got 2% less to work with. except for fire and policing, because those are critical areas that you can't cut. In fact, I know that the police department could probably use another 4 bodies, able bodies, because they always have 4 or 5 guys off on PTSD, or they get hurt in either a car accident or chasing somebody down the road. So, and the guys have a right to be off if they're not well, because we want them very healthy to be able to do their job. And the same goes with firemen. Firemen, I don't think is as tough as the policing in the sense for health-wise, except that when they're in a fire, these guys are under a lot of stress. If there's somebody in that building, they have to go get them, even if it's a dog or a cat or a guinea pig. Public works is a big concern, again, as I said, infrastructure, road work. And I think there are efficiencies. I wrote an article to the Daily Press a year and a half ago about snow removal, and it's something that I observed. And I got calls from people I didn't even know. I've never met these people before. People calling me at home, commenting on my letter, saying how accurate it was, and why shouldn't I run for mayor? I'm getting too old to run for mayor, but all I'm going to do. There are efficiencies, and our guys that remove the snow while they're removing the snow do an excellent job. You got to compliment them on that, because it's cold and it's blistery and it's not always pleasant. However, what I observed at the time was a series of a lineup of 8 trucks, tandem trucks, waiting for the snow removal crew to get there. By the time they got there, it was 9:30. These guys have been waiting since 7:30. So there's 2 hours of downtime for 8 trucks. I calculated roughly $60,000 a year, but what I did in the article is I forgot that there are 2 shifts in the wintertime, a day shift and a night shift. So the savings would be $120,000 a year. And these are just small things that anybody who's been in business realizes. I believe that each department should have 1 alderman present for the oversight of the management. I'm not saying to be there to manage the department, because chances are you don't have a lot of experience in that way. However, there should be an alderman there during the decision making to see what happens every time. You don't have to pay the alderman anymore, I don't think. Most of them are on committees anyway. That should be part of the committee work, is to sit there every Monday morning, go over what's going on, that type of thing. What I've noticed by going to council meetings is everybody gets there, they turn on their computers, and most of the time they're reading what's on the computer. They should have been reading that 2 or 3 days before. They should be, one of the problems is the managers, department heads come in, here's the report, vote on it yes or no. Well, you don't have any input because you haven't been part of it. So how can you vote knowledgeably about yes or no that you're going to pass it or not? These are things that have to be changed, because at least an alderman can come to council, whether it's in camera or out of camera at the table, and be able to say, I was there, this is what happened, this is why we need this. I believe most of the people, the department heads, they know their business. But by the time you get it to council in a report form, nobody really knows at council what went on, except that he says he needs it, and I believe him, so we'll buy it. One of the things that I really am involved in is I'm involved in mining exploration for the last 15, 20 years. And it's been good to me. One thing we have to do, we've got to get more aggressive with the ring of fire. Because if that smelter comes to Timmins, we're looking at 100 years of stability. Financial stability for 700, 800 workers at least, and high-paying jobs. And now that doesn't include the transportation back and forth from the ring of fire. I was up in the Yukon a few years ago, and the Yukon had settled basically all the First Nations land claims. And I'd like to study it more if I'm an alderman. At the time, I just spoke briefly to the Minister of Indian Affairs up there. And basically they have one part of land is for industrial development, one part of land is strictly First Nations land, and the balance, or call it Group C, is where both can get together and share ideas and develop the land together. And it's working very well for them. I understand that the Northwest Territories is taking the same type of approach. And I think that's something we should study. Look at the way all purchases are made in the city of Timmins, whether it be a pickup truck, a roll of toilet paper, coffee for the boys, equipment purchases is a big thing. I'd like to get away from this RFP stuff, request for proposals. To me, a request for proposal, which has been used a lot by the last council, this going out council, was used a lot. That tells me, because I've been in construction so long in the business, if you're always calling for RFPs, then one, you don't know what you want. Two, you have no idea what your unit costs are. And so you're getting all your buddies, it's a buddy system, you're getting all your buddies to give you ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that, except that you let the contract, now you don't have an architect or an engineer in the planning area, and what you end up getting is halfway through the project you realize that something's missing here or something's missing there because your buddy forgot. And so what happens now, the city's got to come up with some extra money. The people who were in charge of those two projects, and I don't know who they are, all come out and blatantly say they were incompetent. And it's that simple. You cannot make these huge blunders where you're over by 40% on an estimate. My goodness, I've been estimating for 30 years of my life, and I'm always within 1 or 2% of somebody else. And I've never been a high bid. I've always been 1 or 2% above the lowest bid in my own construction company. So I know what estimating is about, and nobody makes these kind of blunders. It just costs the city money, and that's why we're in trouble right now, financially. Cross-feeding of bill paying from one department to another because one department's over and the other one's not, that has to stop. It does not give you proper accounting for that department. And so you don't understand, there's no way of understanding, is there inefficiencies in that department, or is there incompetence in that department? Any department that has incompetence has to be changed. I was offered a lot of donations to run. People have been asking me to run for 3 or 4 years. I have not taken donations because I don't want to owe anybody any favors. And even the people that offered me the money, they would never ask a favor. But I just want to make sure it's a clean slate, because that's the way it should be. Our family's been in politics, as many people know, for a long time. My father was federal member of parliament from 1968 to 1979, in the Trudeau years back then. And my father has a good reputation of being an honest and straight up shooter, and I like to think that I'm following his footsteps in everything I do. Everybody has a right to be happy. And if you don't have a place to go and you don't have a goal, it's pretty hard to do anything but just sit around and, hey buddy, can you help me out? I mean, and I'm a sucker for that, but instead of giving somebody money, I'll say, come on in, I'll buy you a sandwich or a meal or something like that. And I've done it a lot of times. And sometimes that's all you need to get the guy to turn around or the lady to turn around. Hey, somebody is actually concerned about my well-being. We have to learn to integrate with one another. And we have to learn to give people the benefit of the doubt rather than laugh at them or shun them off. A lot of stores are closing, a lot of lots are empty. Personally, I think the BIA has really lost the ball on this, and personally, I would do away with it. I have some aunts who had stores on 3rd Avenue, and they said that the BIA did absolutely nothing for them. They were better off on their own doing their own advertising. Stars and Thunder is a great cultural and festival event. I recognize that. What I don't think is right is that the taxpayers have to pay for the businesses to make money. Hotels got that, restaurants got that, some of the shops that sell clothes got that. We still lost $1.65 million. It's got to come off the backs of the seniors in town who can barely afford to live in their house right now. I know some people that have to decide, do I take my bills today, my heating bill, oh, the taxes are up again this year, what am I going to do? People are moving to Matheson or Oracle Falls to where they can afford to live. Yes, I like Stars and Thunder. My wife went last year. This year we were gone, but last year she went, and she really appreciated it. I find that building this fence around, I would not have done that personally. Some people can't afford to win. They just can't afford to buy the ticket to win. So why can't they sit outside? It's distorted anyway, but at least they can see the monitors. Why take that away from them? You're doing this for the city of Timmins, not just the people that can afford the tickets. And as far as Stars and Thunder, yeah, I'd like to see it go again, but we have to have a different business model. Yes, all our infrastructure is crumbling. I agree with that. Many years ago, one of the mayors decided to slow down the maintenance and refurbishing of infrastructure to pay off a $10 million debenture we had. And he was successful in doing it. But now, 20 years later, we're looking at all this infrastructure that needs repairs. I know people who have been stopped by the police for weaving in traffic. Well, sorry officer, I've not been drinking. I'm trying to dodge the stupid potholes because the city's not there to fix them. Because when they do, they dump the coal patch in, the rain comes, they wash it out, you're dodging potholes. I do it all the time. So road construction, the infrastructure, the water lines and sewer lines to me is a big thing. The sewage treatment plant was way overexpended as far as money goes. Nothing you can do about that now. It's up to code, everything's good. But South Porcupine, that lift station, has to be fixed right away. If it goes through the courts, they've already been 2 years stuck. Could be another 2 or 3 years through the courts. Let's just fix the darn thing. Get the Ministry of Health in here, say, what do we need to do? Write the order up. Say, here you go, City of Timmins, bang. There's the order, this is what you have to do. That's an expense that we'll have to find money to do somewhere, get the money somewhere to do it, but it has to be done now. Porcupine Lake's getting polluted. These are areas of priority have to be dealt with right now, not 2 or 3 years after the lawyers make all the money. Because you pay the lawyers on that, the lawyer's going to make probably $1.5 million, maybe more. So that's money we should spend getting her done. And that's the kind of person I am. Certainly, things need to change. We need to just keep talking. We need to quit just talking about things and just getting it done. You know, business is not going to move in if we don't straighten out our act. We've got to show business that Timmins is open for business. If we need to give them 5 years tax break on the property so they build a mill here, let's do it. They're going to be here for 100 years. We have to give them 7 years tax break on the property. Certainly while they're building, you don't want to tax anything because they can't use it. Once it's built, listen boys, we'll give you an extra 3 years tax-free, property tax-free, if you're located here. What else do you need? What else can we do for you? Show them that we want to help them. Now I have to make a confession. The Prime Minister was here a couple months ago. June 2nd last year, I was in his office. My wife and I have a different matter. And I challenged him to come to Timmins. And the association members at the beginning said, Toronto told us he'll never come because we're too NDP. So he'll come. But I had an in. My father was in politics with his father. And I mentioned that to him when I was in his office. And I said, you know, Prime Minister, I said, when my father won, we beat the NDP after 12 years. And the only reason that we won is because your father came to Timmins to help my father. So would you consider coming to Timmins to help whoever might be running? I said, you can't come just at election time because we feel like we're the forgotten land with all the governments. And he looked at me no more than a second. He said, I would consider coming to Timmins. This summer he came to Timmins. You know, not to want to toot my horn, but for some reason, am able to do things like that. I do stuff. When we walked out of the Parliament buildings, I started laughing, and my wife looked at me and said, what's wrong? And I said, how the heck did I just pull this off? Like, we just met the Prime Minister. He doesn't have time for people like us, but he made time for people like us because we approached him in the right way. But I put my name in because I'm fed up that I have to write letters to the editor and nobody gets back to me from City Hall. And I write down letters first and I quit writing because they never answer. So there has to be more openness with City Hall to answer at least to the people who vote them in. I'm tired of the crazy spending we've been doing and the crazy. They're not crazy ideas to put up a new pool complex. I agree with that. But personally, I have to drive the Chev. I'd like to drive a Lamborghini, but I got to drive a Chev. There has to be more responsible spending. Like we've spent now, they've just approved another $1.5 million to go ahead with some drawings because the government says you have to have on-the-shelf projects ready to go. Well, you know, they told us 42 to 48 million. By the time they get that thing built, it's going to be $65, $70 million. How are we going to pay for that? You know, we have infrastructure problems that are just incredible. Sudbury is worse than us, I admit, but we need to fix our roads and our infrastructure. The hospital is always short cash. If we could get our infrastructure set up and things sort of more balanced, maybe we could donate a bit more to the hospital. If people decide this time to vote for people who've been in business for a long time, who know what a budget really means, and who know that at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, and if you redline, you're out of business. I think if people vote for those of us who are thinking along that line, at least this time, and give us a chance, it may take 2 or 3 years, but I think we get the city back on track.